This is Real World Audio, and the title today is Where No Man Has Gone Before. And that's because when you decide to build your amplifier, it really feels like kind of like going for a moon landing or something like that. That you know that you are about to have a unique experience, and and really the best thing about it is the experience itself. And at that point where you are already about to turn on your amplifier, the most exciting thing that can happen is that you turn it on and it works. And that by itself will be a much greater source of joy for you than how it really sounds. And I'm not saying this to discourage you from it, that you will be at something that really sucks, and you like it just for the fact because you built it yourself. Not at all. What my experience was with building amplifiers and my friends building amplifiers, that in every single case we really had something really special that we ended up with. And on top of that, there is this experience that you have achieved something, and then you didn't just put your money down and got an amp in the store and just hooked it up and that's it. But that's something completely different. And what we are going to embark on is building a flea power amp. So something, usually flea power is called like 2 watts or less than 2 watts. That's called flea power. Usually people call low power amplifiers like 8 watts or less, maybe 5-6 watts, something like a 2A3 to 300B category. And a higher power tube amplifier would be something like a 20 watt, 50, 100 watt. But it depends a lot, because like a 20 watt for a push pull is not that much, but 20 watt for a single-ended triode is a hell of a lot of firepower. I have talked about comparing wattages of amplifiers in one of my previous videos. Maybe someone can find the link for that, or maybe I will give the extra effort and look it up for you and post it under the comments where to find that video when I talk about amplifier power. Um, Back to today's subject. So why on earth would you ever want to build a flea power amp? I could say that I already had a video on it and I would be right. And but now I'm not going to go for those reasons which I already shared with you before. But I'm going to give another perspective. So free power is kind of like, feels like going against the wind. That today everyone is buying, and you can get like hundreds of watts even for really cheap money when in Class D operation. Uh, so I would say that if you have a Class D amp that puts out maybe like 500 watts per channel and you absolutely love it, I would still recommend it for you to build a flea power amp and not to replace your beloved Class D amp, but to have an other amp which gives you a completely different perspective on music. And as an experienced audiophile, I can tell you, and every audiophile I've met can tell you, that if you have more than one amplifiers, especially very different amplifiers, then you will learn that each of them have strengths, each of them have weaknesses, and you will have music that you much prefer listening to it with one than the other. And having the option to have these two extremes, to have something really high powered and also something extremely low powered, you will be able to basically enjoy the widest range of music, and also listen to it with the widest range of expectations. And also I would like to share with everyone that flip powers, amplifiers, flip power single-ended triodes are beyond rare. So even if you want them, I'm not saying you cannot buy them, because like you can buy a Deckware Zen, which is like 2 watts per channel. But if you want less than 2 watts per channel, I don't really know anything commercial that you can buy. If you want to have a kit building experience with Flip Power Kit, just Google this up, SPUD kits, SPUD amplifiers. These are the easiest kind of amplifiers. They are called SPUDs because of the SPUD potatoes. So these amplifiers use only one tube per channel for signal amplification. So basically these are 2 tube amplifiers plus a rectifier tube as a third tube, or you can use a diode for solid state rectification, your choice. But basically SPUD kits, SPUD amplifiers are also terrific choices and terrific first projects. So if you want to build something that comes in a kit, that's easier than following the road that I'm going to share with you, because in my road you have to source all of the components yourself, you have to make your chassis yourself, so that's a lot of legwork. If you buy a SPUD kit, you can buy a kit. Basically you buy they give you the chassis, they give you the parts, they give you instructions, everything, and you put it together yourself. But still, there you have the same advantage as building the amplifier that I'm going to recommend to you, that you will have the power to change freely whichever part you want to change. So you are free to upgrade your amplifier. Whereas if you buy a commercial amp and you want to modify it, the first thing that will happen is you are voiding your warranty. And the second thing that will happen is that you are basically taking a huge dip on the resale price. So especially if you bought something really expensive, let's say an Audionaut amplifier, and you are tinkering with it, you are doing mods on it, unless you are a well-known expert on the field and your name adds to the product, if you just tinkered it with yourself, then people will be very questioning, and they are going to be willing to pay only maybe half price for your amplifier. So that's why I recommend tweaking and modifying a commercial amp, especially an expensive one like an Audionaut, a Kondo, or a Shindo, only if you really are dedicated, you really know what you are doing, and you are not intending to resell the amp. You are keeping the amplifier for life. And by the way, I'm always keeping my amplifiers for life. I don't treat them as foreigners, as come and go like a candy that you enjoy one day and throw it out into the trash or give it to the neighbor the next day. I really feel that I have some sort of responsibility for them, for their well-being, and I think about them as companions for life. And it has been a very rewarding experience. And yes, it can be often a little bit more draining on your resources to keep an amp and not sell it to get another amp. But I would say it's well worth it. It's much better road. And I have to add that if you have amplifiers that you build yourself, then it's well worth to keep them. However, if you have commercial amplifiers, if they are in their stock version, I do not feel that much attachment to them. But once I start modifying them and I have them basically talking to me, then it's really, really hard to say bye to them. And in addition to spot kits, if you are not even as brave to put together a spot kit, but you want to get into DIY but are afraid to work with voltages that are like 200 volts or higher, and you want to wet your feet with a project that is easier to build, where there are no such dangerous voltages, I can really recommend Nelson Pass's amp camp kits. So let's just have a look at that. So let's just type it in, Nelson Pass amp camp. Oh, where is it? Here you go. In Google, that's the first link that comes up. DIY audio store and amp camp kit. $300 for complete kit including parts, power supply and chassis. So you don't need anything else. So it shows what there is now. And if you, so this is, just to clarify it, this is not a vacuum tube design. It is a solid state amplifier, and that's why it has relatively safe, or I would say much safer voltages. If you are taking a bath in your bathtub and you want to work on it while soaking in water, it will electrocute you for sure. So it doesn't protect you from stupidity, but at least even if you have any reasonable accident with it, it's still, you just get an ouch feeling instead of a zap. But why am I recommending this amplifier? Because it's a Class A solid state amplifier, and the schematics of it is so Nelson Pass built it to resemble a tube amplifier. So the mode of the operation and how it works is the closest thing to a tube amp that you can get. And people who know Nelson Pass's works, they really like how these amps sound. And Nelson Pass, he's a really fantastic personality. He's one of that's him. He is extremely knowledgeable. Just Google up his website, and he is a really fantastic person. He has also the Pass Labs amplifiers. That those are his brainchild, and they are higher wattage, really high-end amplifiers. But he also makes low output, a few watts output solid state amplifiers. This amp camp is one of them, and that's a version that you can put it together yourself, hence the extremely low price for the amplifier. So if you want to start out with something really friendly, really easy project to build, to get your confidence level up, then start with this. And I would say that, can I? No, I cannot enlarge it. But here I still, even though, as you all know, I'm a really tube amplifier, well, I could say fan, or I would say that just I love the way how tube amps sound. I think they play music to you, while solid state amps focus mostly on the sound, on how things sound. And I think it's usually more of a superficial experience, but that's not true for every solid state amp. And I can tell from experience, if you go back, look at my videos, and I have an amp, a solid state amp in my videos, which I like very much. And actually I have modified that amp. I did some very easy tweaks on it, and that made it sound way more musical than it was. And you can do it also with the amp camp kit. You can change the parts in it, and you change the voicing in the amp. So it will be a fun project, no matter how you look at it. So thank you for tuning in, and I hope I gave you just a couple more options that if you think you are not ready yet to handle 2, 3, 400 volts that come with a vacuum tube amp, or you are not ready, then go with the amp camp from Nelson Pass. By the way, I'm not related to Nelson Pass, and I'm not getting anything from him for showing his amp. I unfortunately I never talked to Nelson Pass before, so he has no idea who I am. But of course, us audiophiles, we all know who he is, and that's why I can recommend him, because he is really, really someone extremely knowledgeable. And if you don't want to deal yet with chassis work, part selection, go for spud kits. I'm going to make a video on spud amps. If you want absolutely zero fuss, you just want to experience free power sound, just get a Decware Zen. So thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Bye bye.